A few years ago, back when I was living in Washington, D.C., I went out for lunch with some guy friends. It was one of those classic American spots burgers, fries, the whole deal. The waiter comes over, and one by one, my friends order their burgers. When it gets to my turn, I just say, "I'll have the salad, please." And the mood of the table just shifted instantly. It wasn't just a bit of light teasing. I was genuinely berated. You would have thought I'd just announced I was a spy. They looked at me as if I'd broken some unwritten sacred code of conduct, all for ordering a salad. That moment stuck with me. It was so small, so trivial, but the social pressure was incredibly real. It was like I'd stumbled upon an invisible script, a default setting for how a guy is supposed to eat lunch with his friends. And it made me start to wonder, what other invisible scripts are we all following every single day without ever questioning them? That moment, and honestly so many others kind of like it, well, that's exactly why we're taking this deep dive today. We want to explore this really broad but incredibly impactful concept of the default path and how it subtly shapes our lives. Often, without us even realizing it. These aren't always conscious choices we're making.
No, not at all.
Oh, no, it's much sneakier than that. They're more like these invisible guardrails, maybe even like invisible puppet strings, just guiding us.
Yeah, nudging us along.
Sometimes, sure, maybe they lead somewhere okay.
Yeah.
But often, we're just completely unaware they even exist, just letting ourselves get pulled along. So today, we're sort of peeling back those layers, trying to see what unseen forces are really at play in our daily lives.
It's pretty remarkable when you start to think about it, isn't it? These invisible scripts, that's a great way to put it, they are just astonishingly pervasive. They function as these kind of silent societal defaults,
right,
guiding our actions, our choices, even our beliefs sometimes, often without any conscious thought from us at all. And there's this really powerful, often unquestioned motivator behind it for all of us, that deep-seated feeling of safety in numbers.
Absolutely. Belonging.
Exactly. When everyone around you, or, most people, are doing something, it just feels less risky, less weird, almost automatically correct somehow.
Yeah, like the right thing to do.
So this deep dive is really all about understanding these powerful forces, whether there are subtle social pressures like your salad story, which is hilarious, but telling.
It really was something.
Or these really deeply ingrained cultural norms that dictate, well, everything. How we work, what we eat. It's about recognizing the currents we're swimming in,
Okay, so let's really unpack this idea of the default. What exactly are these invisible scripts guiding us day in and day out? When we talk about the default, we're basically describing the path of least resistance, right?
Yeah, that sums it up pretty well.
It's doing what's expected of you, often without anyone even saying it. Following trends, not doing anything too unusual for your stage in life.
Sticking to the script.
Exactly. It's letting ourselves get swept along by the zeitgeist, that defining mood of an era, a kind of collective current pushing us.
Yeah, collective push.
At its heart, it's about conforming without really asking why, just fueled by that basic human need for safety in the crowd. It's kind of wild how these scripts pop up in so many different parts of our lives. They're everywhere you look.
They really are.
Think about it. Maybe it's the huge pressure to work a standard 9-to-5 job, be an employee, even if that's not really your thing.
Right. The normal career path.
Or that feeling like you have to be living in the suburbs with the whole setup by your early 30s. It shakes the popular foods we buy, what we order out.
Convenience foods, yeah.
It even influences how we line up with certain political or social movements, sometimes really rigidly. It's like this invisible hand always nudging us towards what's common, what's accepted, what's, quote, normal.
Like everyone else got the memo.
Yeah. Like everyone else is reading from the same secret playbook, and if you haven't got your copy, you better find one fast.
And this is where it gets really interesting because, for so many people, just going along with this default route actually brings a very real, a palpable sense of comfort. There's psychological ease to it.
I could see that.
In fact, it can feel incredibly jarring, really weird, or even genuinely stressful to try and go against the grain, to consciously choose to be different.
Yeah, it takes effort, social effort too.
Definitely. And this isn't just like a random personality quirk. It's rooted deep down in our fundamental human need to belong, to be part of the tribe, accepted by the group.
Right. Avoid being the outcast.
Precisely. The fear of being seen as a weirdo, someone sticking out, it's a powerful deterrent. And this deep-seated comfort in conforming often, and pretty powerfully, overrides any real critical look at whether the default path is actually serving us best as individuals.
It's just easier.
It's simply easier, yeah. Less stressful and often, let's be real, socially rewarded to just go with the flow. Like you said about the river, why swim upstream when the current downstream is so strong?
Okay, so if it's so easy and comfortable to just follow along, stay in that current, what's the big deal? Why should we even bother trying to, diverge from these default paths that seem so comfortable?
It's a fair question.
Well, turns out there are actually several pretty compelling reasons why consciously choosing to chart a different course might just be one of the best decisions you can make, even if it feels a bit awkward or lonely at first. For starters, and this is a big one, the default path is often just plain unhealthy.
Yeah, that's a major point.
Our mainstream lifestyles, so heavily dictated by convenience and what everyone else is doing, frequently lead us down paths that are genuinely bad for our well-being. Just think about common habits. We all see them, maybe even do them. Microwaving food in plastic containers. Still common, despite worries about chemicals.
Definitely. Or driving everywhere.
Driving everywhere, even short distances. Or constantly drinking sugary sodas, which are just everywhere. So many of us are glued to our phones right until sleep, messing up our sleep cycles.
Yeah, the blue light effect.
We get swept up in these unhealthy habits, not because we deliberately chose them, but because we're trying to sit in, because it's just what everyone else seems to be doing. And my salad story from the intro.
Perfect example.
It's a perfect, maybe trivial on the surface example of this. I felt real social pressure to choose something less healthy just to conform. That's unhealthy social pressure, pure and simple.
It really highlights how normal isn't always healthy.
Exactly. Sometimes normal is the problem.
And it goes beyond just physical health. The default path can, kind of surprisingly, often lead us to act in ways that are, let's say, ethically compromised.
Okay. How so?
It might sound strong, but it's a fascinating psychological thing. Groups can, and often do, act in ways that are far less ethical than the individuals in them would act on their own.
Like groupthink.
Something like that, yeah. Think about a powerful, maybe extreme example. Individuals who, as part of a group, might be involved in actions causing immense harm. Yet, if those same individuals met the targets of those actions alone, personally, say on a beach during vacation, it would be completely unthinkable for them to want to harm them.
Right. The context changes everything.
The individual moral compass, that internal sense of right and wrong, it just tends to hold up much better when you're not operating under the collective, unquestioning default of a group.
So the group dilutes responsibility.
It can, yeah. It's not about judging individuals, but understanding that the anonymity and the diffusion of responsibility within a group can subtly weaken individual accountability and ethical thinking. It's a very real cognitive shift that happens when we become part of the herd.
That's a really powerful point about group psychology. And here's another thing, something that should make us all pause. The default path often goes against science.
Interesting angle.
If science is basically the relentless pursuit of truth, then anyone deep in scientific discovery will tell you, probably with a bit of a smile, that what humans don't know is way, way bigger than what we do know.
Absolutely. Knowledge is always evolving.
Scientists are constantly updating our knowledge. So by blindly following the default, we could easily be sticking to practices and beliefs that in just a few decades will seem totally foolish or worse, harmful.
History has plenty of examples.
Totally. Look at history. Asbestos insulation in homes.
Yep, used everywhere.
Lead paint. Remember when secondhand smoke was fine on airplanes and in bars?
Unbelievable now, isn't it?
Or certain chemical dyes in food? These were all once widely accepted default things that science later clearly showed were harmful. The list of things we don't do anymore because science caught up is endless. It really shows how fast understanding can evolve beyond common practice, leaving the default way behind.
And if we switch gears to economics, the default route also, frankly, won't make you rich.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, the market, in theory anyway, prices in all the existing obvious information. So to really gain significant wealth, to get those outsized returns, you often need a distinctly contrarian approach. You need to break from the consensus.
Go against the herd.
Exactly. Take Bitcoin, for example. For the last decade, it's been a massively profitable contrarian bet.
Despite all the skepticism.
Oh, yeah. Mainstream commentators declared it dead hundreds of times, called it a fad, a bubble, a scam. Yet those who dare to diverge from the default investment path, who saw potential despite the noise, they saw incredible returns.
So following the crowd financially rarely leads to big wins.
Pretty much. Because the crowd has already factored in all the obvious stuff, real opportunity often lies in seeing what others miss or dismiss, spotting those hidden gems off the beaten path.
Building on that, it seems pretty clear that the default route is often good for organizations, but kind of paradoxically bad for individuals.
Explain that a bit more.
Companies, large organizations, they're inherently designed to optimize for profit and, well, conformity. On one level, this means trying to herd consumers into similar life tracks, basically, the default route.
Makes sense for them.
Right. When everyone wants roughly the same things, it's super easy for companies to mass produce similar housing, sell uniform processed foods, churn out identical gadgets, market similar cars. It's efficient.
But not always best for the consumer.
Exactly. While these similar products might generate the most profit for the company, they don't always lead to the best outcomes for us, or crucially, our individual health. Like eating the same fried chicken rice bowl from the convenience store every day. Quick sale for them, maybe profitable.
But probably not great for your health long term.
Definitely suboptimal. The business model wins, but you might not.
And there's another layer to that within organizations themselves, right? The employee side.
Oh, absolutely. They often want employees to follow their peers almost without question. This can mean unspoken expectations, like staying late, maybe till 8 p.m., even if you stopped being productive hours ago, just because others are still there.
The FaceTime culture.
Exactly. Organizations often expect employees to just suck it up, take on brutal assignments that wreck your personal life. You see countless examples of these diverging goals between the group, the corporation aiming for its targets, and the individuals within it.
The company's bottom line versus personal well-being.
Yeah. The company's goals often take undeniable precedence over an individual employee's well-being or even their deepest aspirations. It leads to situations where personal sacrifice becomes the unspoken, powerful default expectation.
Like being a cog in a big machine.
Precisely. And your individual shape might get ground down to fit the mechanism. And maybe most critically, following the default route can lead us to choose the wrong job.
Ah, the career path default.
It's such a common story. So many people go into specific fields or take jobs, not because it genuinely aligns with their talents and passions, but because it just seems like the right thing to do.
Or it's what everyone else is doing.
Exactly. I saw this so clearly graduating from the University of Virginia. The default path felt almost gravitational. Move to New York or D.C., work for a bank, a consulting firm, an NGO.
The expected path.
Totally. That's what everyone talked about, was the implied pressure.
Yeah.
After graduation, they literally offered us poor grads free bus rides to those cities. It was amazing how few of us had a real plan to start our own thing or do something unconventional. Employeehood just seemed like the only option.
Instead of defining success for yourself.
Yeah, instead of shifting away from those standard default modes towards something more personalized, like, maybe some more inspiring philosophies might suggest, it was like we were all just following a pre-written script, waiting for our cue.
And that's precisely where the real divergence happens, isn't it? Where the rubber meets the road. What's considered best for the crowd, what's convenient for the masses, is often profoundly different from what genuinely clicks with our own unique talents and values.
Where we find that flow state.
Exactly. Where we truly enter that state of flow, that deep, enjoyable immersion where time just vanishes, where you feel totally aligned with what you're doing. That place can be radically different from where society, or even our families, expect us to be.
But breaking free takes courage.
Immense courage. Or maybe just sheer grit sometimes. But when individuals do manage to break free from that pervasive pressure, that's often when genuine happiness, real creativity, and a true sense of fulfillment emerge.
It's about authentic alignment.
It's not about being rebellious just because. It's about finding that unique, authentic alignment between your inner self and your chosen path, rather than just accepting a generic, pre-written script for your life.
And finally, this sticking to the default route can lead us to profound regret from following the herd.
The long-term consequence.
Our ability to truly flourish, to thrive deeply, depends so much on finding the cultural environment where we genuinely belong, a place that resonates with both our nature and our nurture.
Who we are innately and what we've learned.
Exactly, our inherent qualities and our learned experiences. But the default script, with its powerful pull, can push us relentlessly toward living in places or adopting lifestyles where we just don't fit, leading to that deep, nagging regret later on. I can give you a really personal example here. I have so much natural energy. I genuinely need to walk 10,000 steps a day, every single day, just to keep my mind and body calm. It's not negotiable for me.
That's a significant need.
And having spent years learning 6 languages, life would feel way too plain, too limited if I could only live in English-speaking countries. Yet, if I just blindly followed the default scripts I felt pushing me towards, say, a quiet suburban life in the Midwest, U.S.
You'd be stuck.
I'd be stuck speaking only English, cooped up, driving everywhere in America's car culture. That would inevitably lead to deep, profound regret later.
A mismatch with your nature.
Totally. It's a powerful reminder that while safety in numbers offers that surface comfort, it very rarely offers a truly fulfilling life if it's not aligned with your authentic self. It's a trade-off, isn't it? Comfort versus authenticity. Hashtag story 1 and but. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. We came across a story from a man named Kenji in Tokyo that truly brings this whole idea of the default path to life in a very specific cultural context. It's such a vivid illustration of how deep these unwritten rules can run. Tell us about Kenji.
Yeah, Kenji's story, it really struck me. It captures so much of what we're discussing. He was in his late 20s working for a very prestigious trading company in Tokyo.
Right, high status job.
Exactly. From the outside, picture of success, living what many would see as the classic default path for a dedicated Japanese employee. But his reality, as he later described it, was this silent, suffocating loop of exhaustion. His days started crammed onto a packed train like sardines, then hours in a gray office, often until 9 or 10 p.m.
Late nights.
Very late. And often that wasn't even the end. It frequently finished with mandatory after-work drinks, the nomikai, with his boss.
Oh, the mandatory socializing.
Yeah, imagine having to sit there, laugh at jokes, pour drinks, while feeling like your soul is just quietly dissolving. He had a 2-year-old daughter he barely saw except on weekends. His wife had basically stopped asking when he'd be home. That was his default path. The script he felt he had to follow.
That sounds incredibly tough.
Then one evening, the script just shattered. His daughter had a high fever. His wife called, her voice really distressed, almost panicked.
Oh, no.
Kenji looked at his boss, still buried in paperwork. He looked at his own pile of work. He felt that immense unspoken rule hanging there. You just don't leave before your superiors.
Blood pressure.
But for the first time, he didn't just feel tired. He felt this deep, searing anger. Not at his boss or the company, but at the situation itself, at the default that had stolen so much of his life.
A breaking point.
Exactly. He stood up, bowed deeply, and just said, "I have a family emergency. I am going home." The silence that followed, he said, was heavier, more profound than any shouting.
Wow, I can imagine.
He walked out, heart pounding, not with fear, but with this terrifying, exhilarating sense of freedom. He had no idea what would happen at work the next day, but as he ran for that train, he felt really profoundly that he was finally running towards his life, not away from it. Kenji's story, for me, it isn't about attacking Japanese culture or loyalty. Not at all. There's huge value in dedication, community, work ethic.
Of course.
But his story highlights a critical point about limits, about where a narrative, however noble, becomes dangerous when it demands the total sacrifice of family, health, your very self.
Finding the balance.
His courage wasn't just leaving the office. It was that internal decision that his role as a father in that moment was undeniably more important than his role as an employee. It's a powerful reevaluation of priorities, one that, honestly, many people globally are desperate to make.
It's about recognizing when the script no longer serves you.
Exactly. When it's time to write your own.
It's a truly powerful story, so resonant, makes you wonder how many Kenjis are out there, quietly pushing against those invisible walls. Now, connecting this to the bigger picture, how has Japanese work culture with these deeply ingrained defaults been evolving? We saw some fascinating insights from online discussions, people sharing real-world experiences, giving us a glimpse into the shifts happening.
Yeah, the online chatter was revealing.
It seems there's a big debate online about whether Japan's infamous long hours, suicide rates, fertility rates are genuinely changing to match, say, European averages. A lot of commenters argued against that, saying many still hold an outdated view of Japan, maybe clinging to stereotypes.
And that online debate really highlights a critical point, doesn't it? The reality of work hours in Japan often differs quite a bit from the reported work time in official stats.
Right, the official numbers versus reality.
Many employees still deal with unpaid overtime, feel immense pressure for that drinking with the boss every day or every week, or end up taking work home over the weekends.
What's happening?
As one blunt commenter put it, the numbers are definitely massaged. So official stats, while useful, might not fully capture the demanding reality experienced by individuals. It's what's on paper versus what's lived.
It's absolutely fascinating how global events, like the COVID pandemic, have shaken things up, even influencing these deep cultural norms.
Huge impact.
We saw a significant, maybe unexpected, shift towards remote work, hybrid models. Now, many companies are actually having trouble getting people back in office. That's a massive change for a culture so focused on office presence.
It really is.
Combine that with younger generations drinking less, and you see a noticeable drop in those traditional nomikai, the after-work drinks, even karaoke culture.
Yeah.
It's a real cultural tremor.
Yeah, the social fabric is changing.
We're also seeing more flexibility in dress codes. Jeans, sweaters are more acceptable. Those suits are still common for the over 40s. And a broader shift in employment itself, away from the job for life ideal. More women in temp roles, flexible hours, and get this, employees actually using their vacation time.
That's a big one.
Graduates also seem much more willing to change companies now, a clear break from tradition.
Yet despite these modernizations, some traditional rituals hang on, like cultural anchors. Many companies still have korai, morning assemblies.
Oh, yeah.
Highly ritualized gatherings, maybe reading company mottos aloud. Some online called them stupid rituals. The goal is unity, but they can feel outdated.
Contrasting with the tech company style.
Exactly. Other companies are trying to move towards more tech company-style offices, open plans, flexible spaces. And there's a noticeable generational shift, too. Younger bosses, millennials, tend to be more open-minded, flexible compared to the older, rigid, old-school asshole types, as one person colorfully put it.
Tells you something.
It suggests a slow but definite cultural evolution from within.
And what about the wider economic context? There's this crucial observation. Japan is facing its first labor shortages since the 1970s.
That's hugely significant.
Because, as one commenter vividly said, it's swinging rights right back to the worker. This new leverage might be creating a more foreigner-friendly market as companies open up to hiring foreign staff, even recruiting in English.
Interesting dynamic.
We're even seeing trendsetter companies, like a large Sogo Shosha, a general trading company, allowing extensive remote work within 100 kilometers, but still huge, having lounge-like offices, encouraging lateral hires, promoting taking vacation.
A stark contrast.
Totally contrast with others where, as someone grimly put it, zombies still work late. It's clear Japan isn't monolithic. There's a dynamic landscape emerging, pushing against the old defaults.
This brings us to a really critical, often subtle phenomenon. What happens when the perceived freedom of self-management in these increasingly digital, flexible setups inadvertently pushes people to overwork?
The autonomy paradox.
Exactly. Think about it. Autonomy, feeling in control of your work, it's usually seen as great for well-being, but here it can become a real double-edged sword that actually drives overwork and intensification.
How so?
It's almost a delusional perception of control and autonomy that might actually be experienced as an obligation. In flexible, self-managed work, the demands become internalized. They're not external orders, they're pressures you put on yourself.
Self-inflicted pressure.
Leading to what we call sophisticated internalized health risks. It shows up as self-endangering behaviors, a kind of choice ideology where you feel you're choosing to work relentlessly. Or it reinforces those societal myths of the entrepreneurial self, where burnout is almost a badge of honor.
Which leads to?
It contributes directly to things like insecure overachievers, people driven by performance-based self-esteem, and the alarming rise of burnout, especially among young people. It's like giving someone a delicious cake but secretly telling them they must eat it all, then congratulating them for choosing to. We've seen real company experiences with this. An internet company, let's call it Mob Games, explicitly recognized having a lot of workaholics.
Okay.
When they tried, reasonably, to control working hours, many employees actually resented it because, get this, they wanted to work more.
Wow.
Imagine. Creates a huge dilemma for managers. They might like the results from workaholics and just leave them alone, accidentally reinforcing the behavior.
Enabling it, basically.
There's a slow recognition that while employees might love their work, the freedom of self-management unchecked can lead to losing control and burnout. This understanding, especially in Japan, was partly spurred by public tragedies, like the suicide at the PR agency Dentsu.
That made people aware.
It made Japanese society much more aware of work-related issues, pushing companies like Mob Games to address hours more seriously. The chairman of Mob Games shared a really profound analogy that captures this challenge. It stuck with me. He said, and I quote, "Yes, I understand that many people want to have the freedom to work as much as they want, but look at F1 racing.
Oh.
The race to determine the fastest has also the most strict regulation. That means that even with that regulation, you can still be the fastest in the world. Same here, under this constraint, regulation or internal rules. We can still achieve our mission and the highest business goals."
That's a great analogy. Structure enables performance.
Exactly. It's a compelling argument for structural limits, internal rules, even when people crave freedom, as a way to prevent self-harm. True peak performance often needs smart boundaries. Underlying all this, for Japan specifically, are the deeply ingrained common senses of the culture. Overwork in Japan's knowledge industry. Yes, it's influenced by global factors, tech, deregulation, but it's also profoundly shaped by local factors.
Like what?
One big one is the discretionary labor system. Certain roles are exempt from standard overtime pay, leading to long, uncompensated hours just being expected. Experts point to 5 factors: the nature of knowledge work itself, perfectionism, this discretionary labor system, tech-enabled intensity blurring lines, strong corporate cultures demanding loyalty, and finally, these powerful cultural common senses.
Tell me more about those common senses.
They include deep cultural mechanisms like a strong emphasis on harmony in relationships, avoiding conflict, not standing out, and a profound responsibility towards the group.
Makes it hard to say no.
These expectations make saying no, or just questioning expectations, feel almost inconceivable for many. Professor Miyaji Hiroko's research shows how these common senses subtly turn an employee's overwork into what feels like a voluntary choice.
Wow, that's insidious.
It feels natural and reasonable, supported by a unique responsibility equality sense, and the often glamorized image of creative or high-status jobs. It's a complex web where culture, not a direct order, becomes the unspoken boss.
So it sounds like these companies are trying to manage overwork, which is good, but they're mainly focused on regulating hours, the external thing, not necessarily the intensity or the sheer load of the work itself. Is that right?
That's a very astute observation. Precisely right. While Japanese companies are adapting to the work style reform legal framework, which mostly focuses on working time limits, many still lack specific plans about managing workloads or the volume of work per se.
So they're missing a key piece.
Their initiatives, like NSU's work stock-taking or Syson's management by objectives, often get framed as broader business initiatives toward working better, more efficiently. But these aren't always agile enough for industries like ICT, with unexpected travel or shifting project specs, leading to overwork piling onto specific employees.
Like putting a speed limit on the car, but not limiting the deliveries.
Exactly. It's like capping driving time, but not the number of packages. That said, the work style reform is having a real impact. It's even influencing customer negotiations as companies push back on unreasonable demands.
That's some progress then.
Companies like SI Scene even created a work style reform promotion office, linking reduced hours to diversity, inclusion, engagement, all to attract talent. They've seen results: easier time off, more paid holidays used.
That's positive.
However, despite collecting some data satisfaction levels, working hours for alerts, companies generally lack frameworks to truly connect business performance, overworking, and employee health in an integrated way.
So the dots aren't connected.
Efforts often lean towards compliance, mandatory stress management checks, or maybe shallow corporate wellness programs, rather than a root cause approach tackling the drivers of work intensity. There's a clear failure to collect and integrate business and health metrics to build proactive strategies or make solid business cases for regulating intensity. It's definitely a journey. #Tech Story 2.
Let's pivot now to another area where default settings are just incredibly pervasive: our health and lifestyle. This one feels particularly close to home for so many of us. You shared a story about a woman named Brenda that really highlights this perfectly.
Yeah, I want to tell you about Brenda. She's a 45-year-old office manager, maybe somewhere in the American Midwest. And in many ways, she lived the default life she saw constantly in TV commercials.
The advertised life.
Exactly. Her pantry, full of convenient processed meals. Because she thought, who has time or energy to cook after a long commute and a draining job? Lunch was often a quick drive-through burger, grabbed on the fly.
The easy option.
These weren't active choices she'd carefully weighed. They were just what people did. Easy, normal, the path of least resistance. Then came a routine checkup.
Ah, the wake-up call.
The doctor didn't scold her, just calmly explained the charts: blood sugar, cholesterol, blood pressure, and then used the word pre-diabetic.
Oof.
That single word so clinical, it shattered her sense of normalcy. She realized with this chilling clarity that the easy life she lived was actually a slow, methodical poison.
That's a harsh realization.
She went home and for the first time truly saw her kitchen, really saw it. A monument, she realized, to a life outsourced to corporations, to convenience, the journey to change, agonizingly slow. A marathon, not a sprint.
Hard work.
Learning to read food labels that seem like another language. The social awkwardness of ordering a salad when everyone else got pizza. The sheer exhaustion of planning and cooking from scratch after an already long day.
It's fighting the current.
No single dramatic moment of triumph. Just a quiet, daily grind against old habits and a world built for convenience over health. Her eventual victory wasn't a number on a scale. It was the simple, profound act of packing her own lunch each morning.
A small act, but significant.
A small, quiet, daily declaration that her well-being was no longer on the default setting. My takeaway from Brenda's struggle isn't about blaming individuals. It's easy to say, eat healthier, but we've built a society where the default path is paved with sugar, salt, and fat.
The unhealthy choice is often easiest.
Almost invariably the cheapest, fastest, most heavily marketed. Her story shows a systemic problem. Taking control of your health isn't just willpower. It's often an act of profound resistance against powerful cultural and economic currents. A conscious swim against a very strong tide.
So if Brenda's story is a microcosm, what does this mean on a macro level? If the default lifestyle is so ingrained and, as we've seen, risky for public health, what do the facts actually say? What's the big picture?
The facts, unfortunately, are quite stark. Pretty concerning. Obesity, for instance, isn't just personal. It's a growing global epidemic.
The numbers are bad.
In the U.S. alone, it affects 2 in 5 adults and 1 in 5 children. Globally, prevalence has doubled, even tripled, in many countries over 3 decades.
Wow. Why?
Largely driven by urbanization, sedentary lifestyles, less movement, more screens, and the massive consumption of high-calorie, ultra-processed foods engineered to be hyper-palatable and cheap.
Engineered food.
This trend forecasts a significant burden of chronic disease worldwide. A surge in common, debilitating conditions like type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, metabolic syndrome. It's a public health time bomb, really, and the impact on life and quality of life. Profound. Obesity significantly cuts average life expectancy. Adults obese at 40 lost an average of 6-7 years.
That's huge.
For obese individuals who also smoke, that loss nearly doubled. Staggering. Beyond lifespan, it drastically affects physical and psychosocial quality of life. Limitations in daily activities, social functioning, higher rates of anxiety, depression.
Mental health impact, too.
Class 3 obesity nearly doubles the risk of chronic conditions across the board. The economic burden is equally massive. A silent drain. Obesity accounts for over 20% of annual U.S. healthcare costs.
20%.
Medical costs are 30-40% higher than for healthy weight peers. An increase double that from smoking. Plus indirect costs, lost wages, reduced productivity. It's a full spectrum impact, individual suffering to societal strain.
That really puts the easy default life in a sobering light. The science truly contrasts sharply with these habits, showing how diet impacts us at a fundamental cellular level. What's fascinating here, a real research breakthrough, is that study on cynomolgus macaques.
It's an incredible study. It really brings the concept of evolutionary mismatch to life. The idea that our physiology just isn't designed for modern nutritional environments, especially Western diets so rich in simple sugars, saturated fats.
Compared to ancestral diets.
Exactly. A far cry from ancestral diets, like the Mediterranean pattern, that our bodies evolved to thrive on. The study was a meticulously designed trial with cynomolgus macaques, a well-established model of human health due to similarities.
So they could control variables.
Carefully controlled diet and environment over 15 months, mimicking human Western and Mediterranean patterns, giving us clear cause and effect insights. The physiological outcomes were, well, striking. The Western diet dramatically altered monocyte programming. Monocytes are key immune cells, first responders.
What happened to them?
The diet polarized them towards a pro-inflammatory phenotype, meaning they became supercharged to cause inflammation. You saw increased expression of inflammatory genes, IL-6, IL-1A, and a internal alarm bell.
Linked to disease.
Strongly linked to chronic diseases in humans. Plus, genes associated with the Western diet were enriched for those linked to human diet-associated diseases like celiac, body fat, BMI, LDL cholesterol. The bad kind.
And the Mediterranean diet.
Yeah. Conversely, The Mediterranean diet patterns boosted oxidation reduction processes, crucial for keeping those pro-inflammatory monocytes in check, promoting an anti-inflammatory state. And this builds on prior findings from the same study. Western diet increased body weight, fat, insulin resistance, liver fat, even exacerbated stress responses, autonomic nervous system, HPA axis, and altered brain neuroanatomy.
A whole body impact, wow.
But it gets even more fascinating with behavior. The Western-fed macaques became noticeably more anxious and less socially integrated than those on the Mediterranean diet.
Diet affected social behavior.
Yes, pointing to a critical, multi-directional diet-behavior-immune connection. For some genes, diet-induced changes in social behavior anxiety. Isolation actually mediated the diet's effect on monocyte gene expression.
So behavior influenced immune genes.
Suggesting the diet affects the central nervous system, which then influences immune cell gene expression, a mind-body connection driven by food. And conversely, for another overlapping set of genes, the diet-induced differences in monocyte gene expression mediated the effect of diet on behavior.
So immune changes affected behavior.
Suggesting a powerful two-way street. Diet alters monocyte function, which then may affect central nervous system function through various routes: blood-brain barrier, neurotransmitters, vagus nerve, glial cells.
It's all connected.
A complex, beautifully interconnected system. Diet isn't just fuel. It profoundly affects our immune system, brain, even social behavior. Researchers noted a mosaic response, individual variation, implying interactions between diet, stress, behavior, environment, genetics. While some questioned applying macaque results to humans, the authors defended it robustly, citing macaques' omnivorous nature, coexistence, 50 years of similar findings, microbiome similarities. Paints a very compelling picture.
So what does this all mean for us, the everyday person? If the default path, the convenient one, is so clearly unhealthy, as these studies show, what can be done societally to help us make better choices? It sounds like it's not just about individual willpower.
You're absolutely right. It's a crucial shift in thinking, moving from solely targeting individual behavior to addressing broader environmental factors that powerfully shape our choices.
So, policy changes.
Public health policy has a massive role. We've seen examples. FDA regulations on calorie nutrition labeling, the 2015 ban on trans fats. These are systemic changes making the healthier choice easier by default.
Taking the guesswork out.
Beyond that, priorities desperately need to focus on kids' health, especially in schools. Restricting fast food permits near schools, promoting healthy school meals, mandating PE, creating safe routes for walking, biking.
Making activity normal.
From an economic angle, policies like taxes on unhealthy foods, sugary drinks, while subsidizing healthy choices, making them more affordable, sparks ethical debates on choice, sure, but the public health impact is often clear.
And community design.
Critical. Designing activity-friendly communities with bike-walking paths, safe green spaces subtly encourages activity by making it a natural, enjoyable part of daily life. Beyond broad policy, other key interventions matter. Family-based approaches are crucial. Sustained change often depends on household support. It's hard to change alone.
True. What about healthcare?
Addressing weight bias is imperative. Explicit and implicit bias among clinicians impairs care quality, delayed screenings, misdiagnoses, poorer outcomes.
How to fix that?
Educating professionals on obesity's complex causes, training in unbiased communication using people-first language, patients with obesity, not obese patients, fosters respect.
A team effort.
Ultimately, effective prevention needs genuine interprofessional collaboration. Doctors, nurses, dietitians, exercise specialists, counselors, policymakers working together to create welcoming, accessible healthcare addressing the systemic challenge. It's a huge undertaking, but necessary to reverse these trends. #tag story 3.
Now let's bring it all back to the core of what we're exploring. The psychological and sociological mechanisms that reinforce conformity. These forces are incredibly powerful, often invisible, shaping us from day one. Your story about Maria in Italy really hit home, illustrating how powerful these scripts can be when they clash with personal desires. It's a poignant example of that internal struggle.
Yeah, I heard this story, a truly touching one, about a young woman named Maria. Grew up in a small, traditional town in southern Italy, a place steeped in community, long-held customs.
Close-knit.
Very. The default path for a young woman there was clear, comforting, like a beautifully drawn map. Finish school, find a good local boy, marry, raise a family within that warm, familiar community embrace.
The expected life.
Maria loved her family, her town, but she harbored this secret passion, a burning desire, marine biology. She'd pore over books about the ocean, a world away from their dusty hills.
A different dream.
When she won a scholarship to a prestigious university in Northern Europe, her family's reaction wasn't celebration. It was confusion, even deep hurt.
They didn't understand.
"Why would you leave?" her mother asked, voice full of pain. "Everything you need is here. Family, future husband. It's not safe out there alone."
To them, her ambition wasn't opportunity, it was rejection. A step off the safe path into a dangerous unknown. Wow.
The hardest part for Maria, she reflected later, wasn't the academics or the loneliness in a new culture. It was the persistent, nagging guilt that she'd broken her parents' hearts just by choosing to be herself, following her unique calling.
The weight of expectations.
Her divergence wasn't loud rebellion, but a quiet, aching choice, carrying the heavy weight of what she had to leave behind. When I hear stories like that, with such strong emotional pull, it's crucial to approach them with care, avoid quick judgments.
Right, see their perspective.
It's easy to see the family as restrictive or backward from a modern, individualistic view prizing freedom, but their fear comes from genuine love, a desire to protect. They see community as strength, safety, and it often is.
The dilemma.
The real tragedy, the core dilemma, is when that love, that community, is offered only on condition of conformity. Maria's story forces us to ask, what is a supportive community? One holding you tightly in place, or one giving you wings to fly, even if it's far away?
A tough question.
It shows breaking from the default is rarely simple liberation, often a painful, complex negotiation between who you are and who the people you love most want you to be.
That narrative really gets to the heart of the challenges. Not just external obstacles, but deep internal ones. What's fascinating here, picking up on our earlier thread, is how our psychological state interacts with this pressure, even to the point where we might actively choose overwork. Let's dive back into the autonomy paradox, but through the personal lens of experience.
Exactly. We can look at this through two distinct ideal-type scenarios from our interviews, showing how overwork and health intersect surprisingly. We call them the engagement type and the internalized control type.
Okay, tell me about the engagement type.
This perspective suggests that when overwork is driven by genuine intrinsic motivation, meaningful, fulfilling work, individuals can enter that flow state.
Losing track of time.
Totally absorbed, productivity feels effortless. A creative director we interviewed championed this. He believed this kind of intense, motivated work actually protects from fatigue, especially if followed by rest.
Interesting.
He even reframed traditional job demands as resources. For him, tight deadlines, often a stressor, became a functional mechanism, limiting intensity, a resource helping focus. Though he admitted it was a fragile equilibrium, easily broken if deadlines extended or goals shifted.
Well, context matters.
What's more, for him, the inability to disconnect from work, which many see negatively, wasn't bad. He felt it played an important role in generating creative ideas. Said he was never tired of thinking too much about my work, even in private time.
Oh, he saw.
And here's the kicker. He argued that limiting hours, a policy to prevent overwork, was counterproductive creatively, believed it breaks flow and productivity, requiring more effort to regain flow later, turning a protective resource, a limit, into a source of deferred intensity.
Wow, counterintuitive.
He also talked about subjective stress, good stress from collaboration versus bad stress from pointless meetings. Whether a client request was an opportunity or a stressful, simple task depended on skills and perspective. But he hinted, crucially, this engagement type might be an exception, may be feasible for under 10% of employees truly aligned with their intrinsic passions. It's the ideal, not the norm. Now contrast that starkly with the internalized control type, where overwork becomes less passion, more subtle obligation. A railway manager observes something profound. Physical anomalies will appear in the body even if you don't feel emotionally overworked, if you are forced to work hard.
Chilling. Harm without awareness.
Suggesting harm can occur in an unconscious fashion, building up without immediate emotional warning. People, he noted, often tend to come to terms about illness only when there is a physical examination, medical diagnosis, delaying recognition until it's serious.
Recognizing burnout too late.
Professor Miyaji Hiroko's research on burned-out designers, Seiyo Aini engineers, illustrates this perfectly. Looking back, they'd say there was no autonomy, feeling powerless. But the paradox, at the same time, they say that they couldn't feel so during the ongoing process of burnout.
So it felt voluntary at the time.
In the moment, overwork felt like a voluntary choice, natural, reasonable, ingrained by cultural common senses like responsibility, dedication, self-imposed prisoners of perceived freedom. This is the core of the autonomy paradox. Perceived autonomy can be a delusional perception, turning seeming choice into binding obligation. The tragic Denseu suicide case is a stark public example where multiple factors, sales role, youth, gender, traditional culture, ambiguity of digital work converge.
A perfect storm.
A harrowing illustration of how lack of true autonomy, masked by cultural expectations, can be devastatingly harmful. The ultimate cost of following a default path misaligned with your well-being.
That's a truly powerful and sobering distinction. So it really emphasizes that tackling these deep patterns of overwork, unhealthy defaults isn't just about individual choices. It goes much deeper. We need to think about broader, systemic cultural shifts.
Absolutely. Professor Miyagi Hiroko introduced a crucial concept, the need to relativize common sense, meaning actively challenging, modifying these deep-rooted cultural assumptions that are terribly hard to question because they feel so natural.
How do we do that?
She suggests 2 initiatives. First, investigate and publicize details of various cases of overwork, showing the human cost. Second, reveal the strangeness of common sense through international comparison, holding up a mirror. Why do we do this when others do it differently?
Challenging the norm.
The challenge, though, is even tools like counseling services, seemingly helpful for self-awareness, often get co-opted by business objectives, making it hard for them to genuinely help individuals see the dangers without corporate influence.
Conflict of interest.
The uncomfortable reality is we all internalize external expectations. It's part of socialization. If the autonomy paradox reflects this internalization, then effective prevention needs to target that deeper cultural level, not just surface behaviors.
Beyond individual tweaks.
And here's an interesting cultural parallelism. While specific values differ, Japanese harmony responsibility versus Western individual achievement, the underlying problem of overwork and its mechanisms show surprising similarities. Suggests a universally strong culture that might need more promotion of questioning is at play.
A universal issue.
Ultimately, and this is critical for organizations, there's an urgent need for frameworks explicitly connecting business metrics, productivity, profit, with health metrics, well-being, burnout. In our data-driven world, this integration allows creating compelling business cases, cost-benefit analyses to justify proactive strategies for regulating overwork and intensity, making health a measurable part of the bottom line. #tagoutro.
We've truly explored an intricate, sometimes uncomfortable web of these default paths, from seemingly trivial meal choices to deeply ingrained cultural expectations shaping careers and belonging. What really stands out to me is how often these invisible scripts, while seemingly comfortable or expected, well, they ultimately don't serve our well-being, whether it's physical health, mental state, or our very sense of fulfillment and purpose. It's almost like being on autopilot, but the destination isn't always where we actually want to go.
Indeed. The fascinating insights we've gathered from Japan's evolving work culture, our pervasive dietary habits, the deep psychology of conformity, they all highlight a profound truth. True freedom often lies not in having boundless, unregulated choice, but in the courage to consciously evaluate and, if needed, to powerfully diverge from what everyone else is doing. It's about truly understanding the subtle forces shaping our lives, forces often operating below conscious awareness.
And then choosing.
And then making a deliberate choice about which currents to go with, and maybe more importantly, which currents to bravely, consciously swim against.
This deep dive has truly given us a lot to chew on, wouldn't you say? It reminds us that our personal choices, no matter how small they seem, are often tangled up with these broader societal currents.
Absolutely intertwined.
And those choices can have profound, far-reaching impacts on our health, happiness, our very sense of self. It's a powerful thought, I think, that simply staying aware of these defaults, these invisible scripts, that awareness itself can be the very first, maybe the most crucial step to truly charting your own unique course in life.